She spent a total of 72 days in the NICU. Basically, her omphalocele, which is the organs, are growing on the outside of her body in a sac. And because of the size of it, they couldn't do surgery. So they let gravity push it all back into her body. So that took a little longer to do. And then once that healed and we were getting ready to come home, she decided she didn't want to take a bottle anymore. So we spent an extra 4 weeks in NICU trying to figure out why she wouldn't take a bottle. And we ended up going home on a feeding tube. And then she ended up with RSV and ended up life-flighted back up to Toledo. And we spent 20 days in PICU on a ventilator. Once we were off the oxygen, we were freed to do that surgery. And she was the age of 2. And we were still on a NG tube for feeding through her nose. So from that point, they talked about putting a G tube in her tummy so we could eat. And so when we went in September for our surgery, they did the G tube. She was also a gaggy baby, so they did a fundoplication.
She had a lot of reflux, so they were wondering if the reflux wasn't causing some. At this point, she still won't eat by mouth, so they thought maybe that was causing some of her not wanting to eat, so they did the fundoplication so that didn't come back up.
Right, and then they fixed her omphalocele too. She was 3.5 years old and one day just developed a tummy ache, and we didn't know what to think of it because she never gets the flu or, never gets sick per se. And so we sort of, talked to doctors for a week, and a week later she still wasn't any better. So
she had like this persistent cough.
And she was starting to get dehydrated, and so we took her into the ER in Tiffin, and they're like, she's got a bowel obstruction. So they sent us back up here to St. B's. So we ended up with more surgery to take care of her bowel obstruction.
She got ascites, which is where your stomach fills up with
fluid. So we that stay ended up being a total of 32 days in PICU again, trying to figure out the chylosocites and what we could use to treat it. Our goal was to get home for Easter that year. And we got home for Easter, and then 9 days later we ended up back in the hospital with an infection in her PICC line. She came up to us again with a tummy ache.
She goes, "Daddy, my tummy hurts right in here."
And we're like,
so we kind of look at each other and we're having flashbacks again. So we kind of watched it for a day or so, and then she just started getting, the same symptoms she had before. So we brought her back up here, and she had another obstruction.
So we had to have more surgery, but this time we only made it, we're in the hospital 7 days, and we made it home for Thanksgiving. She's
been a total trooper through it all. She just takes everything with a smile on her face. We started out at maternal fetal medicine. That was a weekly visit. Every Friday, I think it was, or once a week we would come up. That office was just wonderful to us. I mean, they treated us
like
really
we were
great,
family.
like we were family. I can say that about every department we've dealt with. We then went through the NICU, and everybody in there was like family. Of course, after 72 days, you get pretty close with a lot of people. And even after we left NICU, when we had a few stays up in the PICU, those nurses have still come up and kept tabs with us. And that's everything about the hospital in general, from the food service department to the maintenance staff to everybody. They all know Hannah when she comes bouncing down the hallway. I can guarantee just about everybody in Northwest Ohio knows somebody that's been touched by that Mercy Children's Hospital, whether it's just from a doctor's visit as a follow-up or, a lengthy stay or a short stay. Just about everybody has benefited from you might not necessarily realize that, but everybody's benefited from it.
You never know who ends up getting the benefits from the donations.